Hey guys, this is Shane Tusupon. Thought it'd be fun for me to work on a little English with you guys while you're stuck in quarantine. Thought the best thing about languages is always about bringing your style and your aspects and your stylisticness to the language, and using the language and adapting it over the years, over history. It's constantly changed from each generation. So yeah, I mean, one of the cool parts about it, the more fun aspects of the language is definitely the slang right now. Definitely what we use and how we use it on a modern day language, on the streets, on social media now, especially with the boom of social media. So I thought it'd be fun to talk about what are the really popular slang words and exactly what they do mean by, the Urban Dictionary version. So I thought we'd kind of roll with that, and we'd work our way through some of the hot slang words of the international language right now. So the first one is extra. It's kind of a simple term. We use it probably a lot of time without even realizing throughout the day. Extra is basically to be unnecessarily dramatic or something that's over the top. I use it a lot, but I use it more when anything's over what it should be. It's extra. A lot of times it's extra dramatic. I mean, that's usually the most common version. I use it a lot of ways, other ways, but I tend to use words in my own playful way, especially around those that I'm comfortable with. But yeah, typically it's extra means if that person's extra, we're talking about that person is extra dramatic. It's over the top dramatic, and the drama was unnecessary for the situation.
Oh my God. Is her waist snatched?
So the second word we're going to go through is a little bit less common. It's still I guess it's still a budding word. It's still picking up steam. It's been pretty popular amongst some communities, but the word is snatched. It's about looking fierce. So when you say something is snatched, you're saying it's fierce or good looking, but it's a very strong version of good looking. It's over the top. It's fierceness. It's exotic. It's fancy. So yeah, I'll start using that one more often now that I know it. Well, they also use it. The other way they can use it is that it refers to a process of supporting someone in an insult against someone else who lost the argument. So you're kind of like, you're talking about how they snatched the argument from you. They snatched the point from you. That one's a little less common, definitely because the popularity of the word is kind of growing.
Yikes! I play tag and you it for life.
The third one's pretty funny. The third word we picked was big yikes. This definitely fits in with all the football players out there. But for me, I grew up with the word yikes, obviously, like it's pretty common. And I guess that just became too common for some of the social media generation now. So now it's more of big yikes. It's basically a more intense version of yikes. And basically anytime that you would use this anytime something is embarrassing enough that yikes just doesn't do it for you. You got to say something more. It's like, it's got to be made clear that that's not just embarrassing to be a yikes embarrassing moment. That's a big yikes. So I can definitely picture a lot of the football players I know using that on a pretty common basis. So works for me.
I'ma throw this money while they throw fits. I'ma throw this money while they throw fits.
It's funny because fit is definitely used a lot of different ways, but definitely the most common way that I've heard it used, and that, I mean, obviously I'm American, so coming from a United States point of view, the most common way I've seen it in pop culture now is basically talking about your outfit. So you're talking about what the person's wearing, the big fit of the day, what's the big outfit of the day, what's the big look of the day, or the big fit of the moment, what's going on, what the best look is, what kind of outfits are we wearing, colored shirts is the big fit or not, or, so it's definitely, like most words, it just basically got shortened from another word and we start using it a lot. The British version was more about attractive. They're fit, they're attractive. Personally, I definitely like the American way a little bit more. It definitely fits my language a little bit more, and I kind of, I don't use a lot of slang on my normal day, but that's definitely something that's kind of pushed through, and it's not something I even would realize I'm speaking slang. It's just more of how I would describe something sometimes. So it's definitely moving its way into the modern language.
Okay, bet. I just made your girl scared.
This one, I didn't even realize that people were considering it slang. I use it so often, and I'm not someone who considers themselves using a lot of slang. but basically it has a ton of uses. The majority of it is basically when you want to say okay or yes, you want to say, hey, it's just an easy way to say bet, something different than just a standard okay, yes. For me, I typically use it as a way of like saying, like, I'm confident in what I said. Instead of saying yes it is, no, you're wrong, or I would just say bet. And, you know, a lot of times you exaggerate it with like bet 1,000 push-ups. And if you're wrong, you get 1,000 push-ups. That's how confident you are. You'll bet 1,000 push-ups on it. So it definitely is something, it's a word that's definitely taking its place in our language, especially amongst younger generation, but definitely like it's molding. It's part of more things. It's part of like you building upon it. So it's pretty cool word that you can use in a lot of different ways, but definitely portrays confidence and that you know what you're talking about and you're pretty sure of it.
The roof is on fire.
Fire is something, it's just really cool or amazing. It's kind of, I mean, it's kind of self-explanatory almost. Like when you think of fire, we have the fire emoji now, which also comes to another the fire emoji is kind of built into another a slang word we're going to use later, but it definitely, that's why I think the emoji was originally set up. It's a slang word that's kind of stuck around for a long time. It basically refers to something being really cool or really amazing. You know, there was a song, "The Roof is on Fire," yep. And we've kind of stuck with that. And kind of, you know, we were talking about how all the roof's on fire, like let it burn, and we kind of just roll with it. And fire became something you refer to when it's on fire. It's awesome. When something's fire, it's amazing. And those shoes are fire. Like it's just an easy way to describe that. It's not just cool, or it's not just awesome. It's like it's a whole level above. It's something like you really like it. You really think it's cool.
They don't even know. They be throwing shade everywhere.
I didn't know shade was a slang word. I'm so used to the word shade. I definitely have been, I get it on a daily basis, get it thrown at me a lot. So when you throw shade at someone, you're basically dissing them, or you're basically, you throw shade, or you deal with people throwing shade at you. It's basically, you're a lot of times it's basically insulting them, but more of like low key way. You're kind of doing it from behind the back. You're kind of insulting them, but not like, hey, you're dumb, or hey, like it's a direct insult. It's more of like a roundabout way of saying something that's kind of like, oh, it's an insult, but it wasn't, you know, immediately understood as an insult. It's kind of when you know what's going on. So a lot of times you'll get people throwing shade at each other in the media, pretty common. You'll get people throwing shade at each other on social media for sure. It's just become a way that people refer to it. You know, people wonder, I'm like, is this person throwing shade at that guy? And it's like, you wonder when two athletes or two media people are talking about each other, making comments, and it's not necessarily negative, but it's not necessarily positive either. So are they trying to throw some shade at this guy, or you know, what's going on? So it's become pretty common. It's actually, I feel like moving definitely away from slang per se, and it's definitely sticking around in an understanding of the word that's moving into our language more.
Man try flexing the place, but I promise you nobody flex like us.
Flex has definitely developed itself over the course of the social media age. You know, obviously flex stems from basically muscle men flexing in the gym, flexing at Muscle Beach, showing off Arnold Schwarzenegger, big sexy muscles. So now, you know, flex has basically moved its way into pop culture, with your outfit, with your car, with your flashy jewelry or whatever it is. But you're basically, when you flex something, a person flexes something. You're flexing, you're showing off, you're basically flaunting it. You're putting it out there, letting people know you have something, or you look a certain way, or you have something you want to show off, regardless of what it is.
Back up, cause I'm about to go off.
To go off is I thought was pretty common, but it comes from a sports background probably. When you go off, there's two ways to talk about when you go off. There's the way I have it in my circle around me and more of the sports side. When somebody goes off, they go for big numbers. They put up big stats on the board. They're scoring a goal. You say a football player like Dominic would be going off against this goalie. He's just lighting the goalie up, scoring goals. LeBron's going off. But that has kind of turned off, you know, the other way. in more common society is that someone goes off. You kind of let your frustration out. You kind of just, you let it loose. You let the floodgates go out, or the floodgates open up, and someone says, hey, go off, I guess, you know, go off, let it out. Let me hear what you got to say. Vent your frustrations. Tell me what you really think. My mom always used to tell me, why don't you tell me what you really think? Now we have the word go off. So there's kind of two sides of it, more the older side from sports, and then kind of the side that kind of sports switched into normal everyday life, where we got different things going on.
Every day we lit, yeah. Every day we lit, yeah.
Yeah, lit's become very common. Definitely, I would say stemming from fire. Fire is a little more older, but it's a go-to slang word that's sticking around. Lit has definitely taken off due to, I think, the fire emoji, and that something is lit, something's lit up, something's on fire, something is so cool that it's lit. I don't use a lot of slang, but it's definitely a word that I started using just because of how common it's become and how much people use it and how kind of like normal modern day culture it is that something is lit. But basically it's just describing something that's amazing, exciting, high energy, something that you can't really describe. It's just like, you don't want to describe it as just amazing, or you want to have more fun with the word. For me, it's mostly always being used as something that's high energy. It's high energy, or it's not just amazing and like, oh, that's cool. It's a high energy, like I'm excited about it. Like, oh, that's lit. That's awesome. I'm up and excited and like kind of jumping around about it and having fun with the people close to me about this thing going on. Definitely a high energy word.
Every day we lit, yeah. Every day we lit, yeah. Every day we lit, yeah. Every day we